Jai Sri Krishna. Let's start discussion on very important topic, and which is the many banking faces the pain points in the current transaction monitoring system, and they are finding the new vendors in the market. So let's discuss on the topic of pain points of current transaction monitoring system, which is used by the bank or the financial institutions or the insurance company to monitor their all kinds of transactions. So let's start discussion on these topics, and it is a very hot topic in the market. So let's first of all, I'll give you the introduction related to what is a transaction monitoring system and the problem and then goal. So let's discuss on the transaction monitoring system. The transaction monitoring system is a system that used by the bank or the financial institutions or the insurance company to process of tracking and analyze the customer transactions to detect and prevent the financial crime or the terrorist financing such as the money laundering and the fraud. So whatever the financial crime happening in the financial industry, so identify such activities to define some rules or the some logics to the system and identify the fraudulent transaction. So that's the transaction, the system which help us to monitor this thing and to track this thing and the generate the alerts of such transaction. So that system we called as a transaction monitoring system, and this is at the transaction monitoring. So it is an a systematic or the structure way process to identify the illegal transaction with the rule base and the logic base. So the problem, despite being a crucial function, many current systems are inefficient and outdated. So there are the continuously behavior of the criminals are changes, and they identify the new techniques or new methods to do the fraudulent transaction and to clean their money or to do the terrorist financing. So these are the old dated techniques. So we need to upgrade, we need to understand the customer behavior or the customer pattern and to make update our system to fail to keep pace with the sophistication of modern financial crime, and how to update our system. So in that current system which is used by the bank, so what are the pain points we discuss in that slides. So the goal of these slides to identify and address the key pain points to build more effective and the complete and the cost effective monitoring programs for the systems. So that's why we are doing these things to the transaction monitoring system. So let's discuss some pain points and then the most effective way. So first pain point is the high volume of fails positive. Second pain point is an inefficient manual process, and the third pain point is data silos and lack of the unified view, and the fourth pain point in that current system is statics and rule based system, and the fifth pain point is the regulatory are the continuously and the compliance will continuously changes, and we need to adopt that system that changes. So these are the five are the key or the main pain points in the current transaction monitoring system. So let's discuss each pain point in detail and to understand the way. So high volume of fails positive. So what are the high volume of space positive? It is at the legitimate transaction that are incorrectly flagged as a suspicious. So there are the n number of many customers with bank have, and they fitted their rule based logic, or they fitted their the risk based logic, and the system will generate the alerts that is high positive. So that is the genuine transaction, that is not and the suspicious transaction. But the transaction monitoring system will generate the alerts of such transactions. So that transaction we call as a false positive, and we want to reduce the false positive transaction. So what are the consequences that the banks or the financial institution or the insurance company face while the system will generate the more at the high number of false positive? So first one is a rest resources alert fatigue and the poor customer experience. So let's discuss one by one. So waste resources analysts spend over 90% of their time on alerts that are out of the fields or that are the fails positive and leading to significant operations cost. So require the cost and require the time to do the fails positive alert analysis, and it consume their time, and it might be they are not more focused on the true positive rates, and then the criminal activity will increase. And the alerts fatigue, the the overwhelming number of fails alert lead to analyst burnout and reduce the moral and high risks of missing genuine threat that I already told you. So there is the high chance they will may miss or they may predict the genuine threat and the true positive scenarios. So these are the things. And the poor customer experience fails alert can cause delay, requiring customer to provide additional information and leading to frustration and potential churn. So these are, they maybe the system will suspect that, and they debit freeze their transaction which is an the important transaction because of the transaction monitoring system. And if it is an the genuine customer, then he will be get frustrated and he has get the bad experience. So these are the one pain point. Let's move on the second pain point, that is an inefficient manual processes. So the existing process require the manual interaction to perform everything, to file the STR report, to file the cash transaction report or the suspicious transaction report or the suspicious activity report with the GoML format. So there is the manual report, and also to extract the data from the core banking system or the the other card system or the transaction system, to collect that data and apply there some logics, and to filter the data as required by the transaction monitoring system, and then feed. So these are the process manual, and then generate the alerts, and then system will generate alerts, and the human can check the alert details with using the core banking system data of customer 360-degree way. And then he analyzed that it is an the genuine transaction or not genuine transaction. So in that the many system rely on manual data gathering and the case management and reporting process. So there might be the different process for the case management or the payment screening process or the name screening process. So that's the human interaction required for these all these things. And the challenges for the manual the efficient manual process are that it is at the time consuming process. It requires the more time and the risks of human error and scalability issues. So manual review and data collection slow down the investigation, creating the backlogs and create the workload for employees. So that's all these things manually. And the risks of human error, definitely repetitive manual tasks are prone to mistake which can lead a mislead flags and compliance failure. And the repetitive work the human might be to a genuine transaction they consider as the fails positive, and they mark it as a fails positive and correct, but it is an the genuine transaction. So that kind of error will happen in inefficient manual process. And the scalability issue, minimum process cannot scale with increasing the transaction volume, making it difficult for insufficient growth, and that will be the key issue. So let's discuss on the next slide is a data silos, lack of a unified view. So there is lack of the 360-degree view, and their incompleteness in the data or the insufficient data, that user will not able to analyze that the patterns of the behavior of the customers or the so it is and the suspicious transaction or the genuine transaction because of the data, the incompleteness of data, and the relevant data is often scattered across the multiple disconnected system, core bankings, customer relationship management, external database, card database, different or the payment transaction database. So these are the the collect, and that will be the some consequences create for the the humans. So let incomplete picture, difficult investigation, and poor data quality, so that the analyst will cannot be get the holistic view of the customer and not get the 360-degree way thinking on the basis of data. And the analyst will not able to judge it is and the genuine transaction or the suspicious transaction on the basis of data or incomplete of data and behavior, making it difficult to spot the complex across the channel and illicit activity or the illegal activity done by the criminals. And it is an the difficult and the complex thing to the investigation. So investigator must manually put all data, various sources, showing down the review process, and it take time to collect the data and to do the analysis for each customer, and it is an the lengthy process, and that will create the backlogs. And that's why the analyst might be, to do the improper analysis, and they may be eliminate the true positive scenarios. So these are the main key points. And the poor data quality, so incomplete data are not able to do the proper analysis, or not able to help to conclude that the transaction on the customer behavior. So inconsistent data format, lack of data governance across the silos can lead inaccurate risk assessment, and the analyst will not able analyst or investigator or the compliance team member are not able to get the accurate decision and unavailable data. And if the true positive rates, so to collect the data and to manipulate the data, the time will get consumed in that the analysis. So these are the pain points of the third. Let's discuss on the fourth pain point, that is the static and rule based system. So it is, and the all of the banks facing this this rule based system. So let's the legacy system use a rigid and the predefined flag to suspicious transaction, and the most of the criminals will know that the bank will have the rule based or the static logic and the rule based system. So they identify the different strategy or the different method to do the criminal activities, to clean their money or to do the terrorist financing, so that the current transaction monitoring system are not able to identify or not able to to generate the red alerts on such transaction with the real time or within the T+1 or the T+2, and then the criminal will successfully transact their money and do the activity and clean their money. So limitation, failure to adapt rule are static and cannot evolve the new fraud typologies and the criminal methods, so which I already told you. And one size fits all. So there and obtain apply a same rule to all the customer, in the genuine customer or the fraudulent customer or illegal transaction, leading to over monitoring of risk segment and under the monitoring of high risk ones, and there will eliminate it. And for these are the statics method or the rule based method, it's all for the genuine customer or the the fraudulent or the criminal customer. So the system will not able to identify on the basis of the customer behavior or the customer pattern or the transactions or the link analysis method or the network analysis method to identify the network or the link on the current the fraudulent transactions. So explain the alerts, the rule based alerts often lack of content or the explanation where they are trigger and hidden the efficient investigation. So they are not able to identify the hidden patterns, so that the statics or the rule based system will not identify as a customer behavior, and they will use the different type of the typologies to create the suspicious transactions and to clean the money. So let's discuss on the last pain point, that is a regulatory and compliance challenges. So there is a regulatory and compliance will continuously add the new features or new transaction monitoring rules and regulation and update the systems, and they are continuously adopt the new rules for related to that. So the regulatory landscape is constantly changing the new rules and critical enforcement. So I already, and that system are not adoptable that new role, or it will the time consuming to get implement the new roles in the system, and it is an the lengthy process, like the requirement gathering, requirement analysis, design, development, coding, testing, deployment, and then the the for the UAT analysis or UAT testing, and then the production deployment. So all these processes are time consuming, and it will take time so that will implement in the system. So what are the challenges faced by the current the challenges, the difficulty in adopting. So outdated system are slow and expensive to update, and making it hard to stay compliance. Obviously the outdated system that are not sufficient to the new technology, and it is very time consuming and outdated system, and the new technology or the updated technology that system are unable to support, and then because of that their system will run very slow and the time consuming. So that is also one of the challenge faced by the compliance team or the operation team or the business team to work on that system. So that's why the the banks or the financial institution or the insurance company move to the new system and to adopt the new system, and the risks have fines. So failure to meet the involving the regulatory requirement can result in a significant penalties and the reputation damage. Obviously, if the regulator has decided to apply some rule within the time frame due to the old system or the insufficient system, that not sufficient new technology or new rule, so the bank or the financial institution are not able to implement their logic or that rule which is defined by the regulator within the time which assigned by the regulator. So they may be get the penalties, or they may need to pay the penalties to the regulators on within not able to complete that deployment in their production environment. And also other interrelated organization are done that thing with, if they have the new system or the new technology. So these are the very important challenges. And the conflict requirement, so different jurisdictions may have the conflicting and inconsistent rules and compliance the global operation. Definitely the international level rules or the national level rules or the state level rules, that are different, and the system should adopt these rules and work accordingly. And the bank itself have the, the countries, different countries has different rules and the logics and their transactions method. So bank will adopt such thing, and the system will capable of identify the red alerts or the, the suspicious transaction in that system with minimum or the reduce or the minimum of minimum number of the fails positive and the maximum number of the true positive transactions, and identify the fraudulent transaction with using the new technology or AML technology. So let's discuss on the main important topic. Let's the path forward and the modernize the transaction monitoring system. So what are the paths, or what are the tools or the techniques or the technologies that new transaction monitoring should system should have, so they can to do the generate the regulatory requirement immediately, and that can fight against the count the anti-money laundering and the terrorist financing or the fraud transaction, that can increase the true positive rates and the reduce the fails positive rates number. So then the system or the transaction monitoring system should have the capability to work and to use the AI and the machine learning to implement machine learning methodology to identify the alerts or to identify the illegal customer or the illegal pattern of the customer behavior. So implement the AI and ML method for more accurate to adopt the detect and significantly reducing fails positive. So we will use the supervised learning, semi-supervised learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning methodologies to identify the customer is fraudulent or non-fraudulent. So how much the transaction amount, or how much the genuine transaction amount of that customer with using the supervised learning or the semi-supervised learning. So let's concentrate centralize the data platforms. So it is and the most important, so we need to centralize and the data platform where all the data is collected. So create a single and unified view of customer data to enable the holistic analysis and more informed decision making. So to do the link analysis or the network analysis or the customer 360-degree analysis or the customer behavior pattern or the customer risks analysis, so we need or the bank need to centralize system or the centralized platform or the centralized data lake or the centralized data warehouse, where they can collect all the 360-degree way data of that customer by using the ETL methodology, which we